The role of the Choultry courts in 1639. In 1639, the English East India Company had only just secured the grant of land from the local Nayak rulers to establish a trading settlement at what would become Madras Patnam, later Madras, now Chennai. At this very early stage of British presence on the Coromandel coast, administrative structures were rudimentary and improvised. One of the earliest institutions to emerge in the new settlement was the Choultry Court, which played a foundational role in local governance, dispute resolution, and commercial regulation. The term Choultry, from Tamil chavadi or Choultry, originally referred to a public building or rest house that functioned as a meeting place, shelter for travelers, and venue for community transactions. Even before the arrival of Europeans, the Choultry system had long served local South Indian communities as a space where village heads or officials would hear grievances, settle disputes, and record agreements. Thus, when the English arrived and needed an administrative foothold, they readily adapted this existing local institution. By 1639, the Choultry Court functioned as the primary judicial and administrative forum within the fledgling English settlement. Its role was broad, flexible, and often informal. It served as a court of first instance for resolving conflicts among the small but growing population of merchants, weavers, artisans, laborers, and early company servants. Because the English did not yet have formal legal sovereignty and still operated under powers granted by the local Nayak authorities, the Choultry Court blended Indian customary practices with the company's commercial needs. The court typically handled petty civil disputes, such as disagreements over debts, breaches of contract, disputes among traders, and conflicts arising from market transactions. Given that trade was central to the settlement's purpose, the ability to regulate mercantile behavior and guarantee reliable enforcement of agreements was essential. The Choultry Court thus acted not only as a judicial body, but as an institution for maintaining commercial order. Simple criminal matters, minor thefts, disturbances of peace, or infractions of local regulations were also dealt with here, usually with relatively light punishments or fines. Another function of the Choultry Court in 1639 was administrative governance. Since the English settlement was only beginning to take shape, the Choultry often served as the hub for tasks now associated with municipal bodies, maintaining public order, overseeing weights and measures, regulating market spaces, and ensuring fair practices among traders and suppliers. The court also served as a venue for recording transactions, issuing instructions to local officers, and mediating interactions between different communities living under the company's protection. Importantly, justice in the Choultry Court was not administered solely by English officials in these early years. Local Indian officers, dubashis, interpreters, merchants, and community leaders played meaningful roles. Their knowledge of customary law, community expectations, and regional languages allowed the system to function smoothly. Cases involving Indians were often adjudicated by a combination of English factors and trusted local intermediaries, reflecting the hybrid nature of authority at this time. Though simple and limited in scope, the Choultry courts of 1639 laid the groundwork for the vast judicial and administrative scaffolding that the English would later build across the Madras Presidency. Over the next century, these courts evolved from informal customary tribunals into more structured institutions, eventually giving way to the Mayor's Court in 1688 and later to the complex colonial legal apparatus of British India. But in 1639, their role was essentially that of a pragmatic, community-centered court, filling the immediate need for order, dispute resolution, and commercial regulation in a newly founded colonial outpost. Thus, the Choultry courts in 1639 were not grand legal institutions, but flexible, hybrid forums. They enabled the English to govern a multicultural settlement, foster stable trade, and integrate local practices into their early administration. Their existence underscores how the earliest colonial governance in India was built not on sweeping reforms or rigid systems, but on the careful adaptation of pre-existing Indian institutions to suit the company's emerging ambitions.